Hey traders, quick video. I did one yesterday on my YouTube channel, which I'm attempting to build up some content here. It's a little bit of work on top of everything else, but I think it helps kind of show my thinking as I approach markets, at least technically. Again, I'm a macro to micro analyst, educator, and trader, so I'm using macro with intermarket, with quant, sentiment, and definitely a whole bunch of technical, even some fundamental. But this is a YouTube video that I did yesterday on market timing calls, about 10 longs in this bunch. And in particular, I want to go over 5 today that were shorts that I recommended to clients in my trading room this week. And one of them was Zoom. So Zoom has been a great long. I talked about why it was a great long. And then I specifically said, but my price target is 590, and sure enough, it tagged a trend line, profit taking, kicked in, and boom. This is despite having, a third wave of COVID cases. But the point was that this would be a likely turnaround point to watch for it. And in my trading room, I was asked where I saw this going, and my answer was this 536 area, because there were two areas of gap to fill, specifically 536. Then this morning we opened up and popped above, and my continuation short thesis was this was a wedge that's broken out, hit the trend line. Next price target would be 529, 530. Basically, this is the prior high where it broke out, so that it would likely test. And sure enough, you can see when I switch over to this daily time frame, you can see it tagged and then it broke. So this is working, and I had mostly longs, but I also mentioned that market's getting very risky to me, not just with stimulus talks going back and forth and useless basically as it relates to really supporting a bullish thesis, but election risk is real. Although the Biden bid is, was priced in the past month, we have, for sure, in my opinion, with COVID and stimulus talks delayed and also election risk, we have reason to be cautious. So my point was I want to look at actually 5 shorts that popped up on the radar in the last few days. One of them was the Zoom, which is working, and I've got some lower price targets for clients, but you can see how this still is in play. The other was Peloton, which hadn't actually triggered yet, and I said it was in distribution, and it basically meant on an hourly it was getting very violent. It hadn't broken down definitively below the 129, where it literally doesn't get back above, it stays below. And then of course my price target, you can see, would be this 120. It basically did that all today. Prior actually to the after hours downgrade, it was already at the 123.5. So this was my level on a daily that it would likely tag. Basically, it got right up into that trend line, and if I show you here, you can see distribution means it's getting a little erratic. Doesn't mean that trend is broken, but it means as a swing, it's a nicer short. So we had a bearish engulfing, sideways at the 3, sideways at the 3, rallied up into the underside of that trend line and immediately gave sway and was rejected, and then had the energy to break, not just below the 123.5, but then a downgrade, because it's just wicked expensive. The valuation is just silly, and it's earnings season, and folks are coming into their senses potentially with election risk, and they're just lightening up, period. So this is all good reason for profit taking. And it does not mean the trend is busted, but it definitely means the swing, which is on its way now to the 21, and you can see that it's still got some area to go. That was a good short setup as well. Despite all the longs that I talked about yesterday, there are still always this room for good shorts. So this was one that I had mentioned back. I'm going to clean up all this stuff. Way back when 60, my price target was 120, and it actually overshot. But the point is, when this came down, that was very much a broken swing, and it's been gyrating. This is overstock despite the Bitcoin rally right now, and I have recommended to clients 5 other stocks that are very bullish, but overstock not. And here's why. This was forming this H pattern. I'm pattern recognition gal, I really love patterns, and the 10-week and this Keltner channel just couldn't get above, and it rolled over, despite the fact that Bitcoin has taken out 12,000 and other plays that I have recommended, whether it's low float Mara, look at that scoop, or Riot, which again, low float, not highly recommended, MSTR, MSTR, not Microsoft, MicroStrategy, very nice, Bitcoin Trust, very nice, but Overstock, no, and it's because of this overwhelming pattern of a rounded top, trend line break, big old, two bearish bars that basically cut it in half in 2 weeks. Way too much volatility into this puppy. So this was basically a recommended short that's working despite a Bitcoin rally. The other one was, believe it or not, TLT. It is a bond prox. I mean, it is bonds, but it's basically because when this broke down to the 200-day, which is this green line, and I said, okay, the short is working, but this is not a good short in the hole. In other words, it's bouncing, got all the way back up to fill this gap, and then it was bearish engulfing. Here's again the 3 and the 8, very weak, and then it broke. So I still have actually a little price target. I think we head lower to the 50-week, but that's basically around 157. Maybe we'll hit 156. But TLT, believe it or not, is my continuation short on a macro theme, and this is in large part because of a thesis around a yield spike. So I have this in play, and I am sticking with it. TYX is also for those in the 30-year approaching some resistance levels. It'll be a very different dynamic in the market if these two push at certain levels that I've given to clients that I think would be risk off in the market. Last but not least is JKS. So JKS was something that has been perfect, just a 45-degree angle, nothing but higher. I've got clients who've been trading this. I am totally not sure where the price target is. I told them I have no idea when this stops. But there was a fib level. So the way that I work with fib on a weekly is if we overshoot and then come back through it, that's very bearish. So if I show you, this is 1, which means the weekly, if I can show you, it broke 80. This was today, and then it just kept falling. It was down, obviously, 22% is a big break. So level by level, my first price target in my trading room was 77. If we're gonna break and roll over, then it's more likely to come down and test the 3-day, which at the time was about 79, and overshoot to 77, which it did. So if I show you this here, you can see, boom, it hit 77, bounced a little bit into the 7 and 17. So I use different moving averages on an hourly than I do a daily, than I do a weekly. It's my own pattern recognition eye. It's what I'm comfortable with. You do you. Anyway, it broke, and then it continued lower to 68.90. So this is literally a short that happened in the room, didn't expect it until it came and did one of these big expansion and then reversals. So TAN has been a long recommendation since July 2nd. I have a Q3 end of year post that I do for clients, and basically this is now at risk of a rollover. Very big negative print today across the board, but JKS was one in particular. I just wanted to show you technically how that sized up for a short on JKS. Peloton, which I've talked about, was in distribution mode and would likely give a reversal signal. It's already hit 2 price targets. Also Zoom, same thing, hit that trend line, came down, bounced, broke again. And I'm not sure how we're going to do, honestly, with Netflix, which was last night's video. I mentioned IC 474. So we did open and stayed for a little while anyway at this, where was it? Sorry, 496 area. So we literally opened at 501. So we were above 496, and I still said in the room, it was a nasty report, fundamentally speaking. I don't like it. Even though there are lots and lots of calls coming in, and a finance call spread came in of size for March, etc., it didn't look safe to me, and it has rolled over, and I still think 486 before 473. So that's just a little update on some shorts. And speaking of volatility, if you're interested to see how I time volatility moves, I'm doing a live training webinar tomorrow on VIX and news event trading, what I call market moving news. This URL, if you can, I'll put it in the description here of the YouTube video. Check it out. I will be presenting along with some other trainers as well in the volatility world that we live in. So I invite you to join up, and I wish you a great night.